So what I do want to say is this. It looks like it's shaping up like, because we can now start to talk about the trade deadline a little bit more, that most of the teams that have cap space available, prospects available, look like they're going to the playoffs or might be on the fringe of going to the playoffs, do not have the green light to spend at the deadline. Owners are saying to GMs, this is your team. Like it or lump it, it's your team. We're not adding salary. We're not trading salary. We're not doing anything. Everything stays the way it is, except for certain other teams. Teams like the Leafs. What this means is there's going to be a buyer's market, which we never see in trade deadline day. There'll be a lot of teams looking to sell because everybody wants to shed cash. Everybody wants to not spend as much money. And I can tell you that a GM that can shed cash on deadline day and shed actual real dollars to a team that's got more money is going to look awful good to their ownership. It's going to look really good, especially in a pandemic situation. You know, there was talk yesterday that like the Oilers might lose $50 or $60 million this year, right? This is how bad these losses are. The Oilers, hockey mad market, $50 to $60 million. That's an insane amount of money. There's a couple of teams that can buy. The Leafs are one of them. But those prices might be basement prices. If there was ever a year to go for it, it seems like this might be it.
And so, Jesse, for my lack of optimism from earlier about this first place tean,
don't forget laziness.
Now I hear. Shut up.
I can tell Steve's not in the mood to be bullied today. So I'm going to turn the knife even more.
Good. I like that.
So, to go with what Jesse was saying earlier, Adam brings that up, and he's absolutely right about the buyer's market, and this is a wonderful year to go for it if you're a team like, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Why? They're perfect the way they are. I mean, like, I'm worried about, like, people are talking about, like, yeah, go out and get Taylor Hall. And put him where? You're going to sell the farm for Taylor Hall, who's got one goal this season, to replace Kerfoot.
Also, you don't need to sell the farm to get Taylor Hall. That's my point.
You also don't need him.
You don't. I don't think Taylor Hall is the guy anyway.
I don't think he's the guy. I'm not sure who the guy is exactly. The only thing I look at on this team where I go, no, we need to fix that. It might be nice to have another guy who can play third line center.
That's what I'm thinking too. Also, does it hurt you if you can cheaply to go out and buy another top four defenseman? Not because the top four aren't great, and not because the bottom two haven't been great, but honestly, we saw what happened when Muzzin went down, and we saw what happened when Muzzin went down again. And, as we've said, the playoffs are not the regular season. You need that. I think if it's a buyer's market and you can buy at cut rate prices, I think you go out and you do both. You gotta get, why not? Why the hell not? Just go.
Why not?
Why not?
It is. Oh boy. It's such a difficult conversation.
You want to buy a player with an expiring deal, or maybe you don't. Because somebody's going to get claimed in the expansion draft. So you don't want to go spend a pile of picks and pull the Edmonton. We're not going to re-sign Athanasiou after spending two second rounders on it.
And Seattle screws everything up.
Yeah, that's one thing that's very interesting is who goes out and gets a guy who's clearly just a filler for their expansion guy that they're going to lose. Sam Bennett is a healthy scratch tonight. Do you guys take anything away from that?
Yeah, it's not the playoffs. So.
He doesn't have to step up for Johnny Gaudreau. Right. I don't know, man. I think the thing is that they're not happy with Sam Bennett. Sam Bennett's not happy with them, and he consistently plays on the first line or is benched. I don't understand it, but that's what they're doing. Also,
they've been terrible.
Terrible.
Did you see a video of before the game where they got pumped by the Sens?
No, what's the video?
I've never seen a team that was so bad their warm-up sucked. The guys were falling
I
over.
saw that.
They were accidentally flipping pucks into each other's faces. And then one guy would fall and he'd fall into another guy who would fall. They looked like a mess. And people before the game, I made money off of that video because people were like, if you're into sports betting, maybe bet on the Sens tonight because the Flames warm-up was terrible. And I saw the video and I put $5 down on the Sens to win, and they did.
Nice.
I should have put more. I wish I've only just started, but I should have put more because they looked horrible in the warm-up, and then they got pumped 5-1, I think it was. Something's wrong in Calgary, man.
No kidding. Holy.
Jake Muzzin ruined the team. They were fine before that little episode. And they've never really recovered from it, even though they did beat the Leafs the one time.
Well, and Lucic was on, I think, is it 960 in Calgary? And he was talking about, he's like, we just want things to be too easy. Whenever players say that, I'm like, man, that doesn't sound like it. That sounds like there's something, they're in their own heads for sure. But, and the other thing, Tree Living, when he was on, they said, what are the plans for Sam Bennett? And they're like, he said, we'll move Sam Bennett when we feel like it. And it's sort of like they're sending a message. And I just feel, to me anyway, this is a situation where it's like it's just one more thing that's distracting you. And frankly, Sam Bennett's value right now isn't good. You're not going to get much for him. It's not great. If you keep benching the guy, it's going to go down. Like what if Brad Tree Living is saying to Kyle Dubas, listen, I want to have legitimate assets back for Sam Bennett. If I'm Kyle Dubas, I'm like, no. For the guy you're not playing?
Yeah, no. Who knows? Maybe he's getting traded sooner rather than later. Also, I have a hard time believing the way attitudes seem to be in Calgary. He's the only guy who's asked out. He's just the only guy we know about.
Yeah. Yep. There's something weird. And there were some calls for Jeff Ward to be fired. I don't think he's the guy. I think they have a legitimate, they just don't have this team. This team doesn't have the X factor. We've seen it 3 years in a row now.
Who was expecting this out of Calgary though? Not this. They've lacked an X factor, but
I thought they were a second or third place team.
Well, and
with their talent, they should be.
They do have an X factor. They have Matthew Tkachuk. You have to keep your eye out for him every single time he's on the ice, because if he doesn't score, he's going to punch you in the head. And his team's response was to tell him to calm down.